Okay, and now we're going to hear a bit about what is going on all around the world with high-speed rail. So to give us a great presentation on that, it's Philippe Laurent from the UIC.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, I'm the one coming from the other side of the ocean to talk about high-speed rail around the world. So, and I would be glad to have US join the team of high-speed rail countries. As you can see on the map, you know, the dark green is high-speed rail being in operation, and the lighter green is under construction. But I'll give you more insight. Here you see, you know, this is the total, the length of high-speed rail in operation worldwide. So it's still increasing. It's at plus 20% in the last 4 years. This timeline gives you roughly, it started in Japan in 1964. The big of the expansion, as we will see, is in Asia Pacific. So it started in Europe and Japan and increased in India recently. So we'll focus on 5 regions. First one is Asia Pacific, Middle East, Europe, Africa, and of course, Americas. Asia Pacific, this is where I mentioned, you know, we have the longer lines. We have 25,000 miles in operation with over 9,000 under construction, and with plan, you know, 3,600 miles, but also long-term planning. And in Asia, they deliver what they say, 20,000 more to come. So it's quite a big piece. Actually, you have more in Asia than in the rest of the world in operation. So as you can see from this map, you know, it's Asia, it's China, Japan, South Korea, and Indonesia. If you look on the left, the map from China, there is no explanation to give. You can see the network is huge. It's in operation and it's increasing. So it started in Japan, the map in the middle, but Japan is a small island, so the network is mature. Unlike Korea on the right, which is also a small country, but they are still increasing and developing their network. So a quick focus on Japan. It started in 1964 with a well-known Shinkansen, you know, which is the first high-speed rail at 177 miles per hour. The network is around 2,000 miles with an operation speed average of 200 miles per hour. So they have many intermediate high-speed stations. It's a technology with distributed traction and modular operation, short headways, and high capacity. This is the reference in the world of high speed. South Korea, as I mentioned, it started later, 20 years. We celebrate early April, 25 years anniversary, 20th anniversary, and 25 for the rail in Korea. But they are expanding at a very good speed. This is the world densest high-speed rail network in the world, and this is very important because they are achieving a great progress in this. So it concentrated and distributed traction. They first took the European technology that they implanted in Korea. Indonesia is the latest in Asia, which has been constructed last year. The Jakarta-Bandung at 217 miles per hour. It's a short connection, 88 miles, but there is some expansion on the way. And it's a half-hour transportation around the capital city, and it's going to bring a big change in this heavy congested city. China. So China, yeah, maybe we can look at the bottom, you know, the operation mileage from 2003 up to 2023. This is just continuous construction increase. They deliver what they decided to deliver, and they took the good decision in terms of sustainability, in terms of networking completion. There is no city under 500,000 people who is not connected with a high-speed line station in China. The HSR development in China are also tremendous. By the end of 2035, it's going to be almost 45,000 mile high-speed rail, and it's, as I say, they are covering 100% of the city with a population of more than 500 inhabitants. So this is not the case yet, to correct my previous statement. So, as you can see from the map, it's obvious the network is fully covered and accessible. In Korea, the network is still being developed. KNR, the National Railway, are in charge of the construction of the infrastructure, and it's developing at a good pace as well. Okay, there is a line under development which is well known in Malaysia, connecting Singapore with Kuala Lumpur. This is one of the connection which is with an airline with a regular flow. It's 220 miles corridor. Most of this corridor is in Malaysia, while Singapore is very small. So this explains the difficulty in politically progressing on this project. But this is on the way now with 7 intermediate station. It's going to bring a huge economical development to Malaysia. It's huge funding, but once the political willingness and commitment is there, and also the guarantee, it's going to bring private investment, and this project is well in the way with a speed of 200 miles per hour. Indonesia, so on the left you see between Jakarta and Bandung, this is the existing phase which is was completed last year. There is a project to extend this, from Bandung to Surabaya. It's 437 miles. So again, due to the success of the first connection, this project is going to go on the way and is going forward. In Thailand, there are also projects. The project is to connect the 3 airports, which is a good vision to develop this country. It's taking some time because of the political and situation, but the project makes sense and will go forward. It's going to be a 50-year operation. Afterward, it's going to be transferred to the state. So here is what is missing is a real guarantee from the country to get this forward. India, huge country with a train, but with a train operating at 50 miles per hour as an average. So Mr. Modi has this vision, and he started his own state to connect Mumbai to Ahmedabad. This is the Japanese technology and financing which has been brought there. The project is soon to be in operation, its construction, but there is a vision of more than 4,350 miles. I made a mistake, it's 7,000 kilometers. And 7 corridors are being studied and connecting, it's called the Golden Quadrilateral. So again, having a first project in place, it gives a good insight, and this is progressing with all the advanced study and the environmental impact studies. In Australia, the legislation was passed last year or at the end of 2022. But they commenced operation mid last year. They are advising on planning, developing, and overseeing construction. The first priority is Sydney to Newcastle. It's a small connection south of Sydney. It's backed by a 500 million commitment from the Australian government. And here, once again, once there is a commitment and guarantee, projects are proceeding, investors are stepping in more efficiently. Let's look now at the Middle East. It's a relatively small network, or less than 1,000 miles. Construction, it's twice, under construction, and also twice being planned, and also long-term planning. The thing is that there is money there, and there is also an existing network in Turkey. This is the fifth network, high-speed rail network in the world. I think we forget about this, but Turkey implemented maybe later, but they have a good coverage of their network, and from there, a good connection to the other country. So it started in 2009 from Ankara at 155 miles. The network is 1,000 miles, and at speed, higher speed now, 186. And new lines, are coming up, which is bringing it the fifth network in the world. The Gulf countries are getting organized together, and they have put up their GCC, the Gulf Council Countries Railway Project, to develop this. The good thing, or the money is pouring there, and they have real objectives they're going to achieve. It's to extend our network by 3 times, whether it's Saudi Arabia or other country or the Emirates. Europe, this is historically where it started also, at the same time at Japan, each of them taking a different way forward for the technology. So you have a network which is pretty mature, almost 8,000 miles, still some under construction, 1,200 miles, but it's Eastern Europe. Financing support from the European Commission is being given for the eastern part of Europe, which then will bring the exercise to connect these 2 networks. So we have more to see there, and having, longer trip, being able as an alternate to the plane, it will be coming soon. So Europe, it's a long list of countries. I think we're going to have Andrea later talking about Italy and other cases, as you can see from the map. So France has a star system coming from the capital, Paris, which make it easy to travel from Paris. Going from Paris to Bordeaux, it's a 2-hour ride. Going from Paris to Marseille on the Mediterranean Sea, it's a 3-hour ride. So it's comfortable, it's quality time, it's quick, it's reliable, it's on time. So it's really a good system, a good way of living and traveling in France. It's the technology is concentrated traction, double deck, with more people. In the film we got at the beginning, as you didn't talk about the TGVM, but the calculation which we are presented, TGVM, it's going to be the next generation with higher capacity and 20% less electrical consumption, and many more also advantages. Italy, I'll give the floor to Andrea to talk about his country. ICE in Germany, also a 1,000 miles network connected to France. Spain, I'm sure we're going to hear about it later. It's a very dense network, very efficient. I would say that also this is the first network with several operators in place. You have Renfe with the in-house or historical operator, but also the low-cost operator, like in France actually. But Ouigo, is also operating. It's a French operator. And you have also the Italian operator. And all this crowd is living perfectly well, offering different type of services and to the benefit of all the visitors in Spain. And the good thing also, as you can see from this map, is that there is a very good network covering the territory. And it's a pleasure to travel in Spain using this network, much more pleasant to enjoy also the beautiful scenery of this nice country. There is also, as I explained, a future plan to develop. It's called the 10T plan. The baseline is that you have an incremental network to be developed. It's going to be first Eastern Europe, then connecting the 2, and there is a scenario, the 2030 scenario. So there is fund associated to this, but the benefit. The fund will be given because there is a clear benefit for the society to have the shift to rail. It's in terms of CO2 savings, but also in terms of better quality, in terms of better quality of life and less CO2 and less traffic congestions and all these things. Africa, huge country. In operation right now, it's quite reduced mileage, but there is many miles plan. The question is about the funding for this continent. But we have quite success. We at UIC we hold our World Congress last year in Morocco, and this country was chosen. It's already connecting Tanger, you know, at the. It's not working, but it's Tanger is connecting Spain and going south, going to Rabat. And they have just announced a few weeks ago the connection to Marrakesh and Agadir. So finance is coming from the United Arab Emirates. It was announced at the last COP in Dubai in November last year. So the financial support from will make this project go forward. In Africa, there is also Egypt. I was talking about the world's fifth largest HSR system. This is number 6. It was awarded a few months ago, and it's 1,200 miles, you know, high-speed rail network. It's going to enable traveling from the Red Sea to Mediterranean, among others. And this electrification of the network will reduce emission by 70%. This is a huge, huge project in Egypt. Okay, America. I think I'll give the floor to the others. I'm a little bit embarrassed because, yeah, we have, you can see below this question mark, is that we issue each year a report from the data from our members with all the maps and high-speed line around the world. And yeah, I prefer to listen to you today and rather to try to explain the situations that you know. The thing is that yeah, you're going to learn from the others. I think you're going to avoid mistakes and you're going to go faster, hopefully, because there is so much all around the world that it's going to be easier. As you can see, the evolution out of the US, but hopefully in the US also, is huge. It's a 33% increase, you know, if you look at the construction underway. Yes, it's happening in Asia Pacific, but also it's going to happen later. We take the data from our members, so we account only what we see, what they give us, what is really confirmed. So hopefully there is much more. But as you can see, China is ranking first. I had to put dotted lines here because my diagram would be out of this. It's over 42,000 kilometers in operation. And what a good parameter to look at also is I was talking about the density of these lines, the meter of lines per square kilometers in the country. So here you can see which country are really also addressing this as a way of mass transport for the future, available and enabling a real switch. So smaller country like Korea and Japan, but also, look, I was talking about Spain, the density is high. So I think this is paving the way for the next years. Things will happen in this country because they get organized, they get everything in place to enable this switch from individual cars to the comfort, the reliability, the security of trains. Okay, the figures, in terms of passengers, is also this is huge. So quickly, I'm Philippe Laurent. I'm from UIC. We're an organization of operators and infra managers all around the world. We have members all around the world, mainly in Europe, because this is where it's all started, but Asia and other countries. What we do, we work a lot on technical issues, whether it's standardization, it's specifications, but it's also project studies for our members. We are an association also, so we are at the service of our members. We disseminate, We give strategic advice. We learn, we have our members learn from each other, operators, infra manager. The link here enables you to retrieve the atlas on high-speed rail. It's free of charge, download it, and it's going to be, I'm sure, available on the website. And if you have other questions, I'll be pleased to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippe. Hello everyone. I'm Andrea Giuricin. I'm an adjunct professor at University Milano Bicocca, but I work all around the world. So I work in many experiences. We met in South Korea last month, and it's very interesting. We will try to show you how it's going a little bit around the world, but specifically with the first case of competition in the high-speed rail, with the first high-speed rail private operator in competition, that is Italy. This is my own country. I was working also I was also professor at the China Academy of Railway Science. It was like 10,000 students in Beijing, just speaking about rail, 300 PhD students for that. And I work with the World Bank, with the United Nations, so on. So I have a little bit of experience all around the world. And high-speed rail competition is a very new topic in terms. It's quite new. In Italy, it's 2012 when we started, but right now we have the example in Spain where we work, for example, with 3 operators. And in France, we have 2 operators, and more we have more country where we have this kind of cooperation. So depending on the country, you have different way how it's working the system. In some country, you have a vertical integration. That means the infrastructure manager and the railway undertaking are the same company. In some country, you have vertical separation like Sweden or UK, where you have infra manager and railway undertaking that are separated company. In other countries, you have holding structure, like in Italy, and I will show you, where you have infra manager, okay, who manage the infrastructure, and the railway undertaking that are 2 separated companies, but you are under the same holding, like Germany or Italy. It's interesting in Italy where you have this kind of structure where the government is the owner of the holding, that manages the infra manager and the main operator that is named Trenitalia, that has also high-speed train. But then on the same network, you have other operators using the same network, paying a fee, paying a track access charge, that is very important, is the main cost for the railway company, and that's name, the company in Italy is Italo, but in Spain you have 3 operators, Renfe that is the historical, and then you have other 2 operators. So this is quite interesting because on the same network, like in the aviation, you have more than 1 operator, and that's competition, that's clear competition. In Italy, it's interesting that when started Italo is the first high-speed rail private operator. I started in 2009 working there. At the beginning, there was investor like banks, the first Italian bank, the first insurance group like Generali, but also private entrepreneur. One very famous entrepreneur was Della Valle. Probably you know him because it was the CEO and the president of Ferrari for around 23 years. And then there was Della Valle, that is, for example, the owner of Tots, that is luxury shoes, maybe you know them, and other investor, so private investor. Company was sold to a US company, to the US fund in 2018 for around 2.5 billion of US dollar, so GIP, Global Infrastructure Partner. And what's happened this year? Last year, and right now they are closing, they are selling the 50% to MSC, Mediterranean Shipping Company. That is the biggest group in the container, but also in the cruises is a very important player. Right now they took 50% and they pay around $2.2 billion for 50% of the company, that right now the value is around 5.5 billion of US dollar. Some article that I helped to write about competition is that the fact that you have competition means that you have more trains, and we will see. More trains means that finally you take a modal shift on the train. So no one is using between Rome and Milan, that is the same distance like San Francisco, Los Angeles. It's exactly the same time also with the car. Quite no one are using the plane, because in 3 hours from city center to the city center, of course, all the people are using the train, 80% of the people. And also another element is the competition and the low-cost model that is entering, for example, in Spain. In Italy, what's happened? With the same infrastructure, competition started in 2012. And with the same infrastructure, because we don't have new kilometers of infrastructure until now, in the next year we will have around 300-400 miles more, but we have more than double of the passenger. And the yield, the average price of the ticket was decreased around 30%. And the GDP, unfortunately, because Italy is not very dynamic, it was at the same, I'm sorry, it's my own country, but was quite at the same level of 2011. So big increase of the demand of high-speed rail. What's happening in Italy? Right now, between Milan and Rome, you have 164 trains per day, 100 around of the incumbent, that is named Frecciarossa, and 64 from Italy. That means that you have a train every 5-10 minutes from Milan to Rome, that is 3 hours for quite 400 miles, 370 miles distance and so on. And you have 164 trains. I took the train every week going from Milan to Rome. You have a train 6:30 in the morning, 6:35, 6:40, 6:45, 7. So it's like a subway, something like that. That is crazy. Madrid-Barcelona, where we start to have more operator, you have around 90. New York, Washington, including also the regional, you have 58 connection per day. So this is just a comparison. What is more important that finally, thanks to the competition, we have a strong increase of the market share. Between Milan to Rome right now, it's 80% of the people are using the train. There's no sense, really no sense, to take the plane, because you go on board of the train. In Italy, you go on board of the train normally, go 3-4 minutes before the departure of the train, and they start to work on board of the train because you have free Wi-Fi, whatever, and you arrive in the city center. So you don't lose time, you gain time, working time, for example, between when you travel on board of the train. And it's very interesting. This is on the CASC, the cost available seat kilometer. Sorry to be too much professor here. And the other side is the length. But what is interesting that the cost per seat kilometer of a train, high-speed train, is lower than low cost. Also, if you compare with Southwest, JetBlue, or Spirit, the train is lower because you have more density. On board of the train, you have 500 passengers. You can have 5, depending on the train, but it's a 500 passenger. And this is some numbers of Italo. In 2019, there was more than 20 million passengers per year. Of course, there's an increase also in 2023. The EBITDA margin was 40%, 2019. Last year was 37%, so it's very profitable. Also, Frecciarossa is very profitable, so also the incumbent make a lot of money. And what is interesting, this is the increase of the revenue of the market. So even if the price of the ticket decreased 30%, the total market increase. So you have more than, in 2017, you have more than 700 million more of revenue for the total market, even if the price was decreased a lot. So that's also the incumbent that is happy about the competition. The incumbent right now, Trenitalia went to Spain, went to France to have competition with them. And what is interesting is the yield. The yield is the euro per passenger kilometers. To travel with Italo, the last data available was in 2018, but the value is not so far away from that one, was around 8 cents, euro cents, so around 8.5 cents of dollars to make 1 kilometer. So to make 1,000 kilometers, you spend around 80 euro. So it's very cheap. So that's very cheap to travel. Just to show that you have different ambiances of classes. You have different classes. You have the club where you have, for example, the lounge. You can close inside. You have a prima class. You have a smart. So all the seats are leather, for example. But what is really interesting, one data that I showed when I spoke with the CEO of Ferrovie dello Stato, Trenitalia, or Italo, the first foreign customer, do you know where are coming from and how many? Are from US, and there are around 2.5 million people from US every year that are taking a high-speed train in Italy, because Italy is very attractive for tourism, but then when they want to travel from Rome to Florence, Venice, all the people are using the train. They know that they use high-speed train. So US customer, and there's also a discussion that we will have during the day, US customer in reality are using a lot of high-speed train, not in the US, but not yet in the US, but they are using a lot all around Europe. Just to give some example, the pricing is very aggressive, but depending on the business model here. For example, from Milan to Rome, 3 hours, like San Francisco, Los Angeles, there was the entry price. It was like $10, $11, and to maybe $150, something like that. But you have entry price that is very cheap. So it's very easy to find this kind of tickets. Also in Spain right now, it's exactly the same. So with that, I think that I was very fast in my presentation because I know that the time is very... And let's go to have the discussion with Andy and with Philip here. You can sit, we are three, so we can sit here. So great. Andy, I start from you because still you have not spoken in this session. And as you you know Italy very well because we met many times. And as you also, Philippe, show, it's very interesting what's happened all around the world. And you are a leader in the high-speed rail for the US, and you see and you follow for many years what's happening. Finally, it's changing. I think it's a big changes finally is here. And how do you see, the evolution of high-speed rail here in the US? What is the future of that? See also what's happened all around the world.
Thank you, Andrea. Make sure I'm on. I think what you said a minute ago is now that we're getting serious about it, we're getting the first few projects up and running. Once we see the first one, then I think it's going to be unleashed. I think we're going to start, and America's known for building big and building fast once you focus on it. And so that's the hard part, was to get us to focus and prioritize it and get the funding. And I think we're definitely on a roll now.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I think this is big changes also because finally, as you showed at the beginning, is coming the money also from the government. In many countries, for the infrastructure is funded also by the government, as we saw in quite all the countries, something like that. It's quite interesting this that finally we don't have a real one single business model as I show and as you saw. So what is also for you, coming from your experience all around the world, Philippe, the vision for the US? Do you think that what kind of elements could be taken from other experience from other parts of the world, knowing that of course it's not possible copy paste because it's completely different, but what is the experience that
Yeah, well, there is no copy-paste because each project is different, but I see several projects, emerging eventually. I think the mistakes to be avoided is really to consider the projects as a whole and size it, from day one as a complete system. Don't be shy, but consider everything, connection with the airport, intermodality, all the items. Don't be afraid to really design a whole project. In terms of financing, what we see all around the world is that there is no project going forward without a support from the government, a firm support, which can be in terms of a guarantee. And the reason is that a guarantee is not providing you interest or subsidies. It's decreasing, your guarantee is decreasing, but it's still there. But there is no other body than a country or an institution in the country that can provide this guarantee and ignite the project. Because these projects are bringing revenues for a long period. 30 years, minimum for project in Japan where they have a reduced time for the rolling stock, and more than 50 years. For investors, these projects are very attractive once they are in place. So the financial, what we call the structure, engineering, finance, it's something you look for each project. The industry also can be seen there are partners, whether for the tracks, the rolling stock, the telecommunication, they can be part of the project with a scheme where, once the construction is achieved, it's transferred to pure investors who do not take the risk in the construction they cannot manage. So there are many. So the solution also is to take advice from the other operators all around the world, and don't hesitate to seek advice in their experience.
Yeah, that I think is very interesting. Also, the concept of intermodality and the concept that is not an infrastructure alone. It's not to be so. And you show many times that you're starting from some corridors, but more and more you are constructing more, and also the connection to the different stations and so on is the critical elements, and I think is very important element also here in the US.
And including the development around the station and getting the station in the city where it belongs, and then, building a very dense walkable community. So you've got a lot of people that actually can just walk to the train station. That would be ideal. And that's actually what happens in many countries.
Yeah, and the larger catchment area is a critical element. The catchment area is very important because, of course, the high-speed rail, you need a lot of passenger on board because normally the train could be in Italy, you have a train 460 seats. If you take a Ouigo, in France, they have more than 1,100 seats per every double composition of train. So you need a lot of passenger. And to do that, of course, if you are not Tokyo, that is very vertical city, or maybe Seoul also, that is very vertical, it's important to take the people on this main backbone. So this is another element that I think the authorities here, the fact that still we don't have a real high-speed rail in operation, but it's very important also the city think about that. I think it's critical for many cities.
And I also think that it's important to connect light rail systems to the high-speed station and you know, bike lanes and all that. So you've got lots of options that, you know, when all these people come, they're already a pedestrian. So you don't want them to then get in a car. You want them to continue on in another rail system, walking, bikes, and that's how we can really move the people.
And also it's interesting because I show the yield. The yield all around the world probably is not so high in terms to make 600 miles in Italy. You spend probably $80, $85. So it's very cheap traveling. But also in other countries, also in France, with the Ouigo is lower, for example, or in Spain right now after the competition is lower than that. So it's very interesting, and the ability to pay here in the US is very high.
There's one example in Spain, I can't remember the lady who wrote the article, but she was looking at flying from Madrid to Barcelona. And then she looked at the train. The taxi just to get from her house to the Madrid airport was more than the entire cost of the train all the way to Barcelona.
Yeah, true. It's totally true. I work in Spain, but also I was living in Spain many years. Right now you can have a very, very important offer for the train. And it's interesting also the low-cost model, because of course we will discuss during the day what is the best customer service. But in Spain, for example, what is really, really interesting, that in Italy still not there, but in France, yes, is the low-cost. So the low-cost model is something that is coming. There was that article on Bloomberg that I had to write that is showing that is something that is possible in many countries. But in Spain is already we have a session on Spain later, but in Spain is already 40% of the market where you have the low-cost. So also this element, I think, is important. So Philippe, that you have a global view, because coming from France but working all around the world, also this kind of element is important.
Yeah, I think it's called low cost, but to me they are not low cost. It's a different way they start the business, maybe getting rid of the inheritage from the old train company, having a new mindset, a new organization, lean. And that's how you achieve, lower prices. Ticketing is online. Ticketing is with new standards, which are making things easier. So this is all this. You start a new business, but then for the customer, the experience to me is not one of a low cost.
Exactly.
I think the train that we can, you can tell the difference actually.
Low cost, but it's still nice.
Yeah, it's still nice. It's still nice.
Bones.
Yeah.
You have a strong revenue management. You review maybe the maintenance contract, maybe to have maybe night maintenance and so on. So you change a little bit your business in terms of reducing your cost. Of course, the fact that the train is very dense in terms of you have 1,000 people on board of a double composition of train, maybe 2-floor trains and so on. Help a lot to reduce the cost. And also because the main cost for operator normally is the infrastructure, the cost of using the infrastructure, the track access charge. Of course, if you have 1,000 passengers going, of course, and this divide by 1,000 passengers is different, that you have any of the structure of track access charge, but is a key element on that. Yeah, so there's several elements, I think, we can learn from different parts of the world. You show that, for example, also Indonesia or Morocco, they have already high-speed rail. So many times we think, okay, high-speed rail is for rich country, but it's not like that, is it?
Yeah, Morocco, it was very much discussed because the king of Morocco took the decision and people were saying, well, we need school, we need hospital. Why are you making this choice of high-speed rail? But it's become so popular that they are expanding quickly and in advance of the program. Actually, it's an economical tool, to develop an area, a piece of the country. It's bringing jobs. It's increasing the level of, knowledge of these operations. And it's creating also a continuous development of activity and knowledge. And Korea, who started 20 years ago, are now selling their expertise to Europe. In Poland, they got contracts, and this is something where they learn and they can develop further.
Yeah,
there is one item also I think it's important is that we are not fighting with other mode of transport. We are working closely with the airline companies because they are also aware that we must work together. All this means of transport will be kept. The goal, the objective is to have everything work together and where it's appropriate. Like in France, there is a law to ban short flights and to give the priority to the train when it's short distance. But the airline company are also in favor of this because you take off and you land. It doesn't make much sense for them. They prefer to have the long haul. And this is where the future is. So they are working closely with this rail company because this is making sense. This is where we should go, is to have the market share, distributed as per where you should be. So we are working closely with them in the ticketing, in the distribution, which are area also where progress have been made and you can be more efficient. And so all mode, it's urban, making sure you work also with municipalities, with the region and making sure interconnection will be easy for a traveler so that when he has to go from point A to point B, he will make no choice but selecting the train because he knows that everything is going to be smooth and easy.
Yeah, there's several examples of intermodality. Think about Frankfurt with DB and not only Lufthansa, but especially with the Lufthansa, but also in SNCF in Paris, Paris-Charles de Gaulle, but also in China, where you have the airport in Shanghai, second airport in Shanghai, where you have also high-speed rail station inside. So working together, I think, is very important.
You could be on the same ticket.
You can buy a single ticket.
Part of your trip's on a train, part of your trip's on a plane.
Yeah. It's already...
Bags get transferred.
Exactly. For example, I was working a project in Roma, with the airport di Roma, with Frecciarossa and with the ITA, the main company that is old Alitalia. Also to make this kind of integration, so to have a check-in in the station, so the checking of the luggage in the station and so on. So it's working very well. We have a good example. And I think it's very, very important for the customer experience. Here, as you told Philippe, we are really at the beginning, but also starting late maybe is an opportunity because you can take the best because it's a learning by doing process in the high-speed rail and so on. So it's important. Do you think it's really like that, Andy?
I've often said that. That's one advantage of being last is that we can just pick up where everybody else has took years and years to get to and just run with that.
Yeah, maybe we are finishing our time.
Yes.
Maybe...
Love to keep talking. This is a great conversation.
Yeah.
It's now time for the break. And so please join us outside here. We've got great refreshments and we'll be back at 11.
Thank you.